I broke my back.
What do you mean by that?
Your back is broken.
What do you mean, calm it down? It's a fight. Referees telling two fighters who want to fight to calm it down? He should calm down.
I saw he's like a clown in his show, man. He's not your guy.
Because Tyson Fury's back, and all you motherfuckers are under attack.
Look, Eddie Hearn can say all what he likes. Who gives a shit what Eddie Hearn says? It's garbage.
Are you off your tits? Have you been smoking something?
Can you let me retire and be happy? Please, just please.
Bombs away from the Bronx Bomber!
Wanda! Let's go, baby! Let's go!
I'm through. They put somebody else up and give me an interview.
What are you talking about? What are you talking about?
You never give me a fair shake. HBO needs to fire you. You don't know shit about boxing. You ain't shit. You're not shit.
I wish I was 50 years younger and I'd kick your ass.
I got drunk, man. Are you kidding?
No, you won the fight.
OMG, I am so excited.
Any of you radio personalities think you want smoke? Call me Mr. Chimney. I want smoke.
Yes. What is up, MCR family? A little immediate reaction post-fight show for Gervonta Davis versus Yuriorkis Gamboa on Showtime Boxing. The last sort of air quotes major boxing card of the year. Obviously, we have the New Year's Eve Japanese card, but I don't think that's going to be televised in the U.S. So, for all intents and purposes, the last major card we get to see legally in the calendar year of 2019, and kind of a good card. I mean, this card was on paper a decent card. You know, it was an above average card in my opinion, especially with the co-main event. I thought Pascal Badou-Jack was a really good, like, old man's fight at the light heavyweight division that still had a lot of stakes in the division. Plus, Davis moving up a division, seeing how he would fare at 135, probably going to be his home for a while. Gamboa probably being, even, it might be weird to say, his best opponent to date, even with Pedraza. Maybe that's a hot take, I don't know. It doesn't feel like a hot take, but we're going to delve into all of that. Plus, I mean, all the fights, even the Foogatti fight, which was a huge upset, were relatively entertaining. So always like cards that maybe on paper don't seem to have a lot of entertainment value to it potentially, but then actually over-deliver, a la the Harrison Charlo card the other week. That card was fantastic as well. Another good card this week. So Gary in Dallas, who I'm joined with as usual on these shows. Gary, did you enjoy the fights tonight, man?
I really did.
Yeah.
I thought Tank and Gamboa was fun for what it was.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put Pascal and
Badou-Jack
in my top 10. I don't know where, but that fight's gonna have a spot in my top 10 fights for this year. That was a lot of fun. That fight was a lot of fun, Matt.
It's one of those where it happened like an hour ago, so it's fresh in the mind. And plus we've had so many great fights this year. Like 2019 has been a year of every weekend there's been a fight of the year contender. Every weekend there has been.
And then I have some thoughts on Foogatti. It really draws into question a couple of things. Andre Durrell, and like, is the Caleb Plant win, which was dominant, but was that really as meaningful as we thought it was, right? Because I picked Foogatti. A lot of people picked Foogatti coming off the Durrell wins, and then he had one other blowout win against a lesser named opponent.
I'll look it up really fast.
What was that?
I'll look it up really fast while you're thinking about it.
I don't remember who it was, but it was like a first or a second round knockout.
Who was it? No one. Julius Jackson.
Oh, yeah, the son, not
Yes.
not
No, not senior. No,
man.
not senior. No.
The old man could probably still knock out Junior to this day. Julian Jackson could crack. I don't care what anyone says about Julian Jackson. Santiago, pound for pound, bigger hitter, Julian Jackson or Randall Bailey?
What a weird question. I love it.
Hey, they were both from the Virgin Islands, right? Santiago answered that in the chat.
And anyways, let's get back to Gervonta Davis, Gamboa. Let's start with that. Let's start with the main event. Like you said, far more entertaining than I think what we previously thought it was going to be, especially with the first few rounds, how it looked. It looked like Davis was going to just run over Gamboa. And he didn't. And whatever reason he didn't run over Gamboa, we may discuss that and debate that. He didn't. And Gamboa really, I think, gave a good account of himself, as we kind of predicted in the preview show, Gary, on was a Monday or Tuesday. We were talking about this card. We said that Gamboa is a liver dog than I think a lot of people are giving him credit for. And plus, Gamboa has a knack for having weird fights. And this was a quintessential weird Gamboa fight. You had shoes exploding. You had single leg takedown attempts. You had people dropping from throwing really loaded shots and just stumbling, both Davis and Gamboa. You had really just comical knockdowns at times. It was a quintessential Gamboa fight, but one that he was absolutely in. And also, it was a weird pass on the torch fight in a way, because Gamboa was a guy that, let's say, now it's looking at 7 years ago, right? 7 to 10 years ago, Gary. He kind of had the hype that Davis has now. And they have very similar styles, very similar game plans, very similar just overall aesthetics of fighting. That very sharp counter shots that they throw. Everything's loaded with power. Really good, accurate punchers as well. Maybe they don't set up everything that we want them to, but they're talented. Like, the talent's just oozing out of these two guys. One is just going on 40 years old, while the other is in his early 20s, and that showed. But, Gary, thoughts on the fight, thoughts on Davis's performance? Was it one that he should have got Gamboa out of there quicker and he didn't? Should we draw some negative conclusions from that of Davis at 135? Just thoughts on Davis Gamboa as a whole.
I mean, obviously his performance is going to be compared to Teofimo's, right?
Yes.
Same weight class. One guy's 22, one guy's 24.
Even Paulie brought that up on the telecast, that Teofimo Lopez just knocked out Richard Gomez. These guys are naturally going to be compared to each other. How can you not say Lopez is the bigger prospect right now at this point in time?
There's like, I don't really get Gervonta Davis, right? Like, he's got so much skill and so much power, and there's so much to like about him.
So good.
But I'm going to make two weird comparisons. If you're a baseball fan, it's like Josh Beckett. Josh Beckett was a pitcher for the Red Sox and the Marlins, won the World Series MVP, and then he disappeared for 4 years. And he came back with the Red Sox, was the best pitcher in baseball. But it was just one of those guys where he'd strike out 5 batters in a row, and then he'd get a bad call from the umpire, and he'd just implode, right? And that's kind of what I see in Tank Davis. It's there's these quick explosives. You see how good this guy is, and then he just disappears for a while, and then he comes back again. It was like John Starks was a guy who would score 40 points one night for the Knicks, and the next night he'd go 0 for 17. It's like, what? How is this the same guy, right? That's kind of how I feel about Tank Davis. 3 rounds into that fight, Tank Davis looked great. Okay, he's going to get him out 5-6 rounds. Gamboa's chin was spectacular, by the way. I know he got knocked out, but he took some massive shots from a really big puncher.
And shots where he was squared up, hands down, chin exposed, and ate him too, and still got up.
I tip my hat to Gamboa, and I don't think that whatever was wrong with his foot or his shoe was ever really fixed. And I think that played a role in the fight, because you could see his mind was on his foot. So now you're fighting this 25-year-old lion with all-world power and skill, and you're focusing only half on the fight and half on your foot. And then he was throwing a lot of arm punches. I don't think he could sit down on that. I don't think he could deliver the shots that he wanted to. I think that played more of a role mentally and physically than they let on to. I think that impact, not that he was going to win the fight anyway, but I think it would have been a lot more competitive. And you saw him eat shots. Tank ate some shots. If Gamboa could have sat down on those and been more comfortable, not that the fight would have ended differently, but it might have been a lot more fun and even more competitive than it was. But it was a good showing from Gamboa. What it was. I'm just I'm a Tank fan. I just was not impressed by that. And then the knockout came, and it was okay, I guess all is well that ends well. But
I feel like him getting the knockout was a bad thing long term. If you get my drift, I think in some weird way, I think Davis needed to go to decision and needed to get some flack for this performance. I don't think he's going to get that internally. In his camp, that won't happen now as much, in my opinion, because he got the knockout. Everyone's happy. And I think that's an issue going forward. Davis is a guy, like you said, like he's so talented. Like, and there's moments in like round, was it 2 or round like, what was it, 9 or 10? There was like certain rounds where he dominated, almost stopped Gamboa. Like was this close, was a second away from stopping him multiple times. And then the next round or two, laid off, completely off the gas. I know that Paulie was on the telecast saying that, was there an issue with this camp? Was he not dedicated enough in camp? Is there a cardio issue here? Do you think there's some validity to that narrative at all?
We don't know really if there's cardio issues because he's been knocking guys out so quickly. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if there's cardio issues or if he wasn't in the correct shape for the fight, which when he missed weight at a new weight, that really makes you scratch your head. But I mean, is there cardio issues, like long-term cardio issues?
I think you're playing semantics here.
Yeah.
Think of cardio issues or not being prepared for this fight, whichever phrase you want to use. Is there an issue going forward with his training camps, whether it be cardio, whether it be not being prepared enough, whatever it may be? Because he was throwing 15, 20 punches around at times, and those are rounds after he dominated, almost stopped him. You would think, look, it's Gamboa. He's a guy that he kind of wants to quit at times. Force him to quit. You can force him to quit. There was moments I was like almost yelling at the TV, like, Davis, just keep throwing punches. If you just keep throwing punches, guess what? Gamboa's going to shell up and eat these shots. And if he tries to defend it, he's not going to slip shots. He's going to try to clinch up in the most lazy-ass way to clinch I've ever seen a Olympic medalist and former unified champion do. I've never seen a guy of that caliber paw at him like Velma and Scooby-Doo blind without her glasses. Okay? I mean, seriously, like he was looking all over the place for Davis. Couldn't find him and getting clocked with shots. But Davis just wasn't pressing the gas enough. And I don't know if it's a preparation issue or cardio issue. I don't know. And obviously, this was his first fight to go past 9 rounds as well. Maybe that's another factor. You know, it's still a guy that he received a lot of fame, a lot of hype, a lot of attention very young, and we still have a very, very relatively small sample size of his career. But, I mean, the guy's talented. I mean, I see when he was going and marching Gamboa down and throwing in combination, there's moments like I went, he could beat everyone in lightweight. He could. If he just kept doing that, you know, kept throwing in 3s and 4s, was mixing up sharp counters, that right short counter that he throws, that little check hook he throws, fantastic. You know, he could beat everyone. Loma, Lopez, Comey, Campbell. He could beat all of them. I just worry about those rounds he takes off. And with certain guys, you can't take rounds off, either due to their power, their ability, or the fact that they're just going to win rounds off you and win a decision.
Like, I have a couple thoughts about that. I think if you can take him into deep waters, if you can stretch him out, that he becomes an ordinary fighter. I think Lomachenko can do that, right? Like, and then if I want to see someone make him go backwards, right? Because I don't think he can fight that way, and I think Teofimo could make him go backwards, and he'd be meat for Teofimo. Like, I really do. But again, maybe he goes out next time and changing his next performance, because I'm saying it's like the Josh Beckett, John Starks. It's like, I don't know what Tank Davis is going to show up. It might be the best you've ever seen, or it might be not very good at all. But like, I feel like you don't know until he gets in the ring what Tank Davis is going to show up. But I can't pick him to be either Loma or Teofimo based off of that performance. Like, I can't.
Who can you pick him to beat at 135 off that performance? The Luke Campbells, the Comeys, the Fortunas.
I think Fortuna gets hit enough. I think Campbell's not athletic enough to survive. Like, I think Campbell can win rounds, but eventually Davis is going to get to him and knock him out. Devin Haney, I don't know. Like, I haven't seen Devin Haney against a good fighter yet, so I don't know.
No, let's be honest. Gervonta Davis would knock out Devin Haney right now. We have to be legitimately real about this. Devin Haney's best opponent is who? Moran?
There's nobody good. It's nobody good. That's granted.
Hassan saying Robert Easter. Robert Easter's at 140, so not going to happen now. But I would pick Gervonta Davis to beat Robert Easter for sure.
What about, we talked about Comey. I would still...
Because Davis is going to march him backwards. That's the issue.
I think it could be the same thing. I think Comey could be having an element of success, but eventually he's going to get cracked.
Yeah, I don't see it. And Davis, I don't know if he's defensively flawed. I wouldn't say that. I don't think he's that. I think it's too comfortable at times, and he lets his guard down. That's like for the three-piece that Gamboa caught him in late in the fight. I think that was largely due to him being a little bit too lazy in the clinch, a little bit too lazy in the fight, due to knowing who he was fighting. I think with a guy like Comey, you would see him sharpen up his sort of guard and his overall defensive posture, and not be caught with those sort of lazy shots, to be honest.
I compare his defense to James Harden, right? Like James Harden plays no defense for 3 quarters, but when he has to, he can D up, right? He's an athlete, he can do this, right? Like that's kind of how I feel about Tank Davis. Like, okay, I'll get hit, but if these shots start to impact me, I'll make you miss and I'll shorten up my defense. But if I don't have to, I'm not gonna, right? Like if you want to come in and trade shots with me, I'm probably gonna win that battle, so we can do that. And I'll get hit with shots.
Yeah, I love the chat, man. I love how the chat is starting to know you a lot, pretty well now, Gary. You know, Tony Bracamontes.
I saw that.
Tanahara versus Tank. Tank would destroy Tanahara.
Tanahara 120 to 108.
Stop.
If Tank doesn't quit from being outclassed late in the fight.
Faster J. St. Davis beats Virgil Ortiz. I love it. I love the trolling here in the chat. You guys are awesome, by the way. Making the jokes that I was going to make. I was literally thinking about that, and then I saw you guys in the chat make them. Damn you. I think Davis beats a lot of the top 15 guys. Like, I'll be honest. Like, I think we should go back and rank 135 off of this night. And honestly, maybe go back. I have to look at 160. Not 168, 175. And John Pascal and Badu Jack. I might have to go back and look at that one. Or, Jose Uzcategui, for fuck's sake, man.
Yeah, he's got to drop like a lead balloon. That guy's got.
Yeah, we're gonna have to go back and fix some of our rankings here. But guys, on our community tab on our YouTube page, I already put out our heavyweight rankings on our website. We already have heavyweight and cruiserweight updated. All of them are updated already. But I've decided to sort of slow down on updating them and release them one by one with a video. So right now, I'm in the middle of editing and producing our top 15 heavyweights video, and obviously cruiserweights, light heavyweights, and down the line. Might skip some of the lighter weight classes. Let's just be honest here, guys.
Cruiserweight's brutal, but just take a look at it anyway.
Yeah, and there was a cruiserweight fight that was in, I want to say, Germany today that I wanted to see, but I didn't really see any updates about it. But digressing from that, Gervonta Davis, what do you want from him next? If you have to pick an opponent, if you have to matchmake for him, going forward, what would it be?
On the PBC side, I think because there's no belts for him to get unless because Tank's tied up with Teofimo, so that takes out all the belts until late next year, right? Like that fight's going to be in April, so you figure the winner's not going to come back until September, right? October.
Yeah,
so that's
Loma Teofimo, yeah.
So I would try to keep Tank busy. I try to have him fight twice in the interim. Seriously. Because keep him out of trouble, keep him busy. I would say Rances Bartholomew. He's back at 135, right?
I like that. No, Gary, air horn for you. I like that.
And maybe some Cuban revenge if you're a Cuban. You want to get exact some revenge for that. I think it's a good fight. It's makeable, and it's a fight that Tank should win, but he has to stay motivated for it, right? Like he can't.
That's the one that he could lose a decision, and all of a sudden we go, oh. He just let the fight go because Bartholomew's, negating offense. He's making a really sloppy, ugly fight, and he's going to rack up rounds, and he might win a decision. I could see that being a very ugly, bad fight where Bartholomew wins and plays spoiler because Bartholomew is that guy. He's meant to play spoiler. I love that matchup. And plus, it's a legitimate top 15-ish name, let's be honest. I mean, who else is there really in the PBC side? Is Fortuna technically on the PBC side?
Yeah, but he always goes back between 35 and 40. I guess he's back at 35 because he's fighting
for the vacant belt, right?
Yeah.
He's supposed to fight Luke Campbell for the vacant belt. Maybe try to angle for that fight to get a belt, because like you said, there's no real belt to grab. Maybe try to force a WBC regular interim belt, whatever it is. I know they're not calling it that, but that's what it really is. And then you can somehow force the Devin Haney fight. Like, there's other fights that you can then force because you then have a version of the WBC belt. I would go after that winner in a heartbeat, though it does depend entirely on Devin Haney's timetable for comeback.
They wouldn't let him fight Tevin Farmer. Do you think that they'll let him go over there to the zone? Or do you think Eddie would send Devin Haney over to? Because I think Eddie would make the fight, because I think Eddie thinks that Devin can beat him. I think it'd make the fight.
I mean, Eddie's delusional. Sure, he might think that. It depends. If Eddie views Devin Haney as a central piece to his long-term Matchroom US plans, which I think he does, then the likelihood of him sending Haney over to PBC side is unlikely. It just is. And Davis shouldn't really have to be forced over to go to the zone in any way, shape, or form, in my opinion. I mean, Gervonta Davis is clearly the bigger draw, clearly the bigger star, has more tenure, has better wins. Like, it would make no sense for Gervonta Davis to go to the zone. I think you hope that Fortuna beats Campbell, and then that Haney is still out via injury, and you make that fight in the summertime. You make it 14. Look, I would love that fight. And
they beat each other, don't they? Like,
Ryan Garcia said he wants that fight at the end of the year. And I'm telling you, Ryan, I've always been a fan of you. Not really. But you can't take that fight. Like, first off, you would get worked over. Secondly, I mean, we're talking about other sides of the street. That's other sides of the street entirely. Chase Athletics saying Steven Ortiz and Avery Sparrow at 135. Not bad names.
Avery Sparrow is one I was thinking of too. And Ladarius Miller.
Ooh, I'm okay with Ladarius Miller. Who does he have a fight coming up soon? Am I imagining that?
He does.
I'm trying to remember what it was. I forget. But digressing from that, let's move on. Unless you have anything else to say about Gervonta Davis and Gamboa.
Colbert. Is Colbert 130? He's 135, right?
No, he's 130.
He's 130. Okay.
Yeah. Sorry about that. Because remember, he's fighting, what's his name?
Jezreel Corrales.
Yeah. And Ladarius Miller beat Corrales at 130 and is now up at 135. I want to say that's true. I could be wrong about that. But digressing. Let's move on to the co-main event. John Pascal defeating Badu Jack via split decision in a late, entry for Fight of the Year of 2019. I mean, this was really a tale of two fights, in a way, with John Pascal clearly winning the first half of the fight and Badu Jack clearly winning the second half of the fight. But it was honestly more of a narrative or a theme of a guy that was throwing at volume with reckless abandon and that was landing hard shots early and kept up. Momentum being key here. Momentum is key in fights. And then another guy having to find momentum in his technique. That's, to me, the story of this fight. That Badu Jack came on late. Even though he lost, he came on late due to his technique. He's a superior technician to John Pascal. That got him out of the hole. However, it was far too late. I think the knockdown early sent him into a hole. And while the knockdown very late that he scored against John Pascal was fantastic, it was not enough to probably win this fight, in my opinion. I know that scorecards are going to be all over the place, though, for this one. I'm okay with that. Don't really care to argue scorecards, but hey, this is one of those fights. But I will say, this is a great old man fight. Two guys that are far past their prime, but putting on great performances, still at the top of the division. love to see it. So shout out to John Pascal and Badou Jack. Really great fight. Gary, thoughts on the co-main event here?
I love this fight. I didn't score because I didn't score like the first 7 rounds because I didn't think it was going to go the distance. But like just my gut reaction after watching 12 rounds, I thought Pascal did enough to win. But like I thought it was going to be a draw. I thought we were going to get a 3-way split, right? But it was so close. I was fine with it going either way, but like I didn't score it. So this is not me talking officially, just my gut reaction after watching 12 rounds. I thought Pascal did a little bit more.
Agreed.
But if that first knockdown came, the knockdown of Jack, if that came with 10 seconds left in the round, that fight was over. Did you see his legs? He was done. And then big ups to Pascal too, because he took some shots. That guy's chin, he's got everything you want to make in a fighter, except he has no skills, right? Like his power, his speed, his chin, all of the things you'd want a fighter to have, he has. He just never learned how to throw a jab, although he did a little work. He landed some double jabs in this fight, and he doesn't throw anything straight.
You know what? I've noticed this, that same like Gervonta Davis in a way, and Gamboa, guys that are athletic and just talented freaks, right? But they're not really technicians in that way, right? They will throw like a double jab randomly, but it's never in concert with an overall tactical game. Like there's never a follow-up shot. It's never to set up anything. It's just, my coach is yelling at me to throw more jabs. Here's some jabs. Okay, I'm done throwing jabs. I'm gonna wait for these counters. I'm gonna throw these mean hooks, and that's what they do, right? I don't know if that's something that can really be taught. Some guys are just like they are who they are in terms of fighting, right? Pascal to me seems just to be the guy that he is. Like he's the finished product. But if you could have got him when he was like 22 and really tried to get him to understand, look, I know you're throwing jabs, but they're not in connection with any other combination or setup. Let's figure out how to do that, Pascal. Let's figure out how to set up shots with the jab, because you're just kind of throwing the jab without making it a setup shot. But you're right. I mean, he is almost a creative fighter. Pascal is. Same with like Badou Jack in a way. Like even though like he isn't he doesn't have the lateral movement, Badou Jack is like the perfect like 88 out of 100.
Yeah.
On like fight night.
Like this is what concerns me, right? And I got mad and downgraded Bivol on my list. How do world-class fighters get hit by those hooks? Like, how do you not see those coming? Like, it's so frustrating to me. Because he caught Bivol with those. So don't tell me it's just because Jack is old. He caught Marcus Brown with them, and he caught Bivol with them, who I thought was the best fighter in the weight class. You don't see those coming? Throw something short inside, step out of the way, but don't get hit by it.
I want to say this. I've been one to really discredit Bivol for struggling with Pascal. And clearly Pascal is having a career renaissance. Or like I just kind of shit on Pascal when he shouldn't have. Pascal is really good. And it also, in retrospect, makes Kovalev's wins over him look really fucking good. I think he's just such an unorthodox, like, just fast fighter. I think he is unbelievably fast to the draw. He may wind up with the shots to get, so he has a tell when he's throwing those hooks, but that tell is such a short window that if you're not in the right position already, you're not going to be. You know what I mean?
I guess, but at this level, when you're talking about the best guys, Bivol, who many people thought was the best guy in the weight class, you should not be getting hit by those shots.
Bivol, though, not an athlete.
He's not a great athlete.
I mean, definitely not the level of athlete that like Marcus Brown and Badou Jack are. Just not. He's not laterally as quick as those guys.
No, he's not. I just...
And also smaller. I will add that. I think Bivol's a very small at heavyweight. I think Pascal's size was maybe a factor in that fight as well.
It is, but like John Pascal always looks like the guy that skipped leg day, doesn't he? Like his upper body is all big and he's got like little chicken legs. Like
somebody called him the poor man Sean Porter. I like the comparison. I mean, Sean Porter can definitely throw a jab in concert with like a strategy and tactics. That's for sure.
He's a more athletic Arthur Abraham. I mean, throw something straight, something.
Arthur Abraham.
But he like it's if Arthur Abraham was a better athlete, he'd beat Pascal.
It's kind of true. Kind of true. What do you want next for Pascal? I mean, he keeps winning.
I want to do this again. Or I want Joe Smith, because that would be bombs away.
You don't want, like, Beterbiev, Vajdic, you don't want any of those fights?
I mean, what do they call it?
A Kovalev trilogy?
I'm with that one. Anything that is going to be a war, just bombs away, I'm for that. I would really like to see this again because it was such a good fight. I don't think Pascal's going to have any success with Beterbiev or Vazdik. So I don't want to see him get dismantled by those guys. I want to see another fight like this. I want to see another fight. What do they call it in golf? When the guys are old, but they don't retire and they play like in the senior golf.
I know it's not called senior golf, but
whatever that's called. Like, that's what I want these guys. Like, they still, that was a really fun fight. Now, neither of them going to have a chance against Beterbiev, but like, this was fun. I enjoyed watching this fight. So
Santiago's saying the Masters division.
I don't
know. See, Santi could be lying. I don't know. And Santi knowing about golf is just weird. Like, no, we shouldn't know about golf. Yeah, I'm okay with the rematch. I think it would make sense. I just know that John Pascal is going to get a big fight because it's John Pascal. He for some reason, like, he always gets thrown in there with big fights time and time again. So he's going to get in there with a big fight. Do not be surprised to see him in there with the Beterbiev next. Don't be surprised.
Like, don't you think he gets demolished by Beterbiev?
Yeah, but I mean, it would be fun while it lasts. Right? And Pascal's still like a top
No, he is. He's
5, 6, 7 light heavyweight, for God's sake. I mean, there's an argument he's a top 5 guy, which is weird. He's not, but there's an argument. Ooh, Rabisky in the chat. I love this one. This is nice. Pascal versus Anthony Yard. I like that fight a lot.
Make that fight.
Yeah.
We either have a changing of a guard or Pascal earns it, right? Like, good.
Because you're right about Pascal's placement. He's really not in a place to really fight the top guys because we know he just loses. But because he's a veteran, naturally, this is boxing, this is combat sports, you should be used to fight prospects and to be used to be a barometer to the next generation. Buatsi, Yard, those are names I would love to see fight Pascal next.
Marcus Brown, and that backfired.
Yeah, I mean, that was absolutely right. I mean, make that again to a degree.
You know who he's going to fight next? Andre Durrell. Because Andre Durrell's got Andre Durrell just fought at 175.
He just picked up a win in like 5 rounds, too.
I bet they make that. Keep it on the PBC side.
Yeah, I can see that, absolutely. Moving on, unless you have anything else to say about Pascal and Badu Jack.
This one thing about Badu Jack is this is a reoccurring theme with him where he starts this slow. Do you think this is by design? Like, I mean, because he did much better, but he did this with Adonis Stevenson. He lost the first half of the fight and then won all the second.
James DeGale.
And then I was going to say DeGale. So that's 3 times just off the top of my head where he was in these really close decisions and he got none of them because he gave away the first half of the fight. Like, if this is by design, look, who's ever training him is doing a really good job. But, like, it's like the X's and O's. Like, maybe, like, this is not the best game plan to have him give away the first 6 rounds.
I don't think it's an X's and O's thing. I think it's a style thing, to be honest. I'll be honest. I think that's what it is. And plus, his age, I think if it is a strategic thing, it's to, hey, you're old. Let's conserve some energy in the first half of the fight and save your legs for the second half of the fight, which we know you're better at. You know, if it's that, I can probably see that. I don't think it's a, hey, you know, we're gonna do X, Y, and Z in the second half, so don't even worry about the first half. And they've been doing that for year after year after year. I don't think that's likely. He's just been an old fighter for the last 4 years. The guy's been 35, 36 years old for a decade now, it feels like. Right?
Sure.
I mean, let's be honest here. Moving on, Jose Uzcategui losing in dramatic upset fashion to Lionel Thompson. Lionel Thompson really just outboxed him with the jab. I mean, Uzcategui was chasing him. I mean, he was landing, in my opinion, other than the knockdown shot that knocked down Foogatti. I thought he was landing the harder shots, but he wasn't doing enough, wasn't close enough, was in the right position enough of the time and enough of the rounds. Which is a really sloppy performance by Foogatti, and it makes me wonder if it's due to the layoff and coming off a loss and it being a layoff, or is it not coming off, but just the layoff in general, or did we overrate him in a way post Andre Dirrell? I don't know. This was a odd performance, to be honest, from a guy that we have highly touted. I know I have. Gary?
Yeah, no, that was my thoughts. Like, that's why, like, after this, because what do they call him? Lonnie B? That's what they were calling him? He fought a good fight, but it was so basic. Like he said, he just mostly jab, and then he'd go jab right hand, and he moved well. It's like, okay, I can see, like, this Lonnie B is pretty good, but he's not world class. Like, there's nothing world class about him. Like, Foogatti should take him apart, and he just never did. And I was after the Dirrell fight, I said,
and quickly, you felt like he could. Like,
yeah.
I was watching the fight, like, okay, he's gonna pick it up now, and he's gonna pick it up now, he's gonna pick it up now, and it was like the 10th round. I was like, nope, he never picked it up.
And I thought the judges got it right, and I thought they were gonna get it wrong. I really did, because and we'll get into this. When you have big time boxing, it needs to be in a big time boxing state.
Or you ship in big time refs and judges from other states, which you can do. I mean, that's
they brought Jack Reason for the main event. Thank God. Right? Like that ref.
Hold on. I got the name for it was Foogatti. It was that fight. Ref George Chip. His last name was Chip, like potato chip.
There's no way. That's got to be an alias. That can't be. His birth certificate doesn't say that.
He is definitely in witness protection from the mafia in Atlanta, Georgia, right? That was good. I mean, he deducted he deducted Thompson a point for holding in like the second or third round.
And I'm okay, if they're holding excessively, take a point, make them stop. But that wasn't excessive, and it was just like they were kind of coming together. It's not like he was going out holding him as part of his game plan. It was just like, it was so unnecessary and so weird. It's like, I just didn't understand that. And I'm one for taking a point away for holding. If you're holding excessively, make him stop, right? Holding excessively is against the rules. Now, excessive is kind of subjective, but we all we know it when we see it. If a guy's holding as part of his game plan, make him stop, make him fight. You know, in Thailand, the reason why they don't fight, the little guys don't hold, is because they get like 3 warnings, and then you lose a point, and then you lose 2 points, and then you're disqualified. So, like, if you hold 6 times in a whole fight, you're disqualified, so don't hold. Now, that's probably a little bit much, but, like...
A little bit excessive.
Yeah. Like, if someone's holding, and that's their defense, no, that's not defense. So, make them stop, make them fight. That was so unnecessary. And then what fight was it when the mouthpiece came out? Was that also the...
It might have been. I feel like George Chip was just all over the place, man. Like, if you guys didn't watch this fight, watch it just to see the ref. Just to see a masterclass of what not to do as a referee, watch this fight. Gary?
It was awful. And then he was out of position, completely out of position. There was a slip or something. He was like on the other side of the ring. It's like, I don't understand. Like, don't you work an amateur program? Like, is this your first day on the job? How do you get...
Might be. It's Atlanta, man. Like,
it's not a... When you say, like, we need to make Atlanta a boxing town, I'm with that. But we need to bring in a new commission. We need, like... That was not good. And the Angelo Leo fight, that ref was awful, too. It just...
Jim Korb. I mean, like, I'm not going to make fun of people's names, but all these people sound like they're in witness protection. I'm sorry.
And that guy was like 100 years old. You can see it's like, I hope he doesn't start teeing off, because he was like old and like he was like a country guy, so he wasn't going to be overly assertive. So he was like, you need to get in there and stop a fight if someone's getting teed off on, right? Like,
no, there were some moments there he didn't. Like, there's some moments where rounds ended and the fighters respectively stopped throwing shots, and he just like standing there 5 feet away, Like, yeah, guys, I guess you guys can stop the round. If they kept going, we're so lucky there wasn't worse incidents here. To be honest,
could have been bad. Like, it really could have been bad.
Shout out to new commissions, or not really new commissions. It's commissions getting big time boxing, like you said, when they're not accustomed to it at all. They might get the regional show here and there. Let's jump to that Angelo Leo fight, unless you have anything to say about Foogatti and Lyon Thompson.
No, just Foogati's made me rethink a lot of things. It made me rethink about how impressive the Caleb Plant victory was, and it made me because I was always a Durrell fan. Andre Durrell, Andre Durrell was really good. Maybe I need to revisit that idea.
You do. Anthony Durrell is always the better one. Just saying. Digressing. Angelo Leo defeating Cesar Juarez in a fantastic fight that I was saying this is going to be the best fight of the weekend, best fight of the card. And then obviously Pascal Jack came on and said, no, hold our beer. We got this, fam. Leo, gosh, I mean, what a monster on the inside. Non-stop energy, non-stop combinations, non-stop attack. And again, brutal body work from both men, to be honest. And Cesar Juarez, a longtime veteran in this division, great barometer test from sort of a borderline top 15 guy as well. Might have actually ended up on our top 15. I forget. Might have had like one vote here or there. But digressing. Leo, a guy that I am now highly focused on in terms of a prospect, in terms of who I'm paying attention to. He might be one of the best kept secrets at 122, to be honest, Gary. Which is a division that has a lot of good talent right now, but he might be the best guy of the bunch, and we just don't know it yet.
This is a guy, remember, Juarez, who got blown out by Isaac Dogboe. Now, if you fight the wrong fight against Dogboe, I'm always going to call him Dogboe because that's how it's spelled, but whatever. If you fight the wrong style fight against Dogboe, he can blow you out. He's got a ton of offensive firepower. Again, and he gave
took Donaire the distance, by the way.
Donaire the distance, and he gave Leo fits. There's a lot to like about Leo, right? Like, he throws really good combinations, the work rate, the volume. But here's like and maybe you know, he's got good head movement, but he doesn't throw when he slips. Like, he slips, he makes you miss, and then he has to step back and reset. It's all there, like A, B, C, and D. It's just he hasn't put it together yet, and maybe he just needs more time. Although, however, he already is number one contender for Danny Roman. Mm-hmm. I don't think he does well in that fight. It's a great fight, an action fight, but I don't think he's ready for that kind of fight yet. I think there's still more work to be done, but he could be there eventually.
I think there's still more work to be done, but I don't think it's as far off as you think, to be honest. I think he is, let's say if he had another 2 or 3 setup fights and step-up fights, I should say, he's there. That's not that long in terms of boxing time. That's, a half a year to a year for the guys in these weight classes. So, in that mindset, knowing how fast some of these prospects can move towards a title fight, I'm okay with him jumping that step, to be honest. Juarez is a good barometer. He's a guy that if you blow out, it means something. That's why Isaac Dogboe beating him in the way that he did was a huge eye-opener, even if it's still Juarez. Because Donaire lasted the 12 and Dogboe knocked him out in 5. This knocked him out in 11 rounds. So like you said, he needs some work, but I think that's in large part due to his age, 25 years old, less than 20 fights. I think he's going to be a guy we talk about for a while. I'll put it that way. He may not be the best guy, but he's definitely going to be a perennial guy. And
it's going to be good having him and Brandon Figueroa because they're going to fight. Hopefully they fight multiple times, and that is going to be so much offense. I think Figueroa is more progressed right now, even though he's younger. But to have those two guys side by side for the next 10 years, it's going to be a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah. And like we said, like 122.
It's getting cooking. It's getting going.
That top 8 is really fucking good. What else on the card that I want to talk about?
Right here. So he's the number 1 challenger for Roman. Mm-hmm. Doubleheader on PBC. Roman versus Leo in the main event, and in the co-main you got Brandon Figueroa versus Guillermo Rigondeaux, a night 122 pounders.
I love it. Doesn't happen.
No, but
I think Leo is not a name on PBC, so that means he's going to have to go to DAZN. I mean,
would you pick him to beat Roman at this point? Because I can't do that.
I could see it. I mean, Roman's a guy that when he's not in control and coming forward, he is very hittable. So that does make you wonder if you meet him on the inside and you can match him for that, does his game sort of fall apart when he can't get that, that full head of steam going, so to speak? We saw like Doheny had moments where he froze Roman, and Roman stayed static in his approach and was just eating shots. Not saying that he could replicate Doheny's style because Doheny was in and out movement, very different style than Leo, but the overall strategic goal of get him to stop pressing you. Either get him to circle you or to walk backwards. There's something there to that game. And I'm very curious about the Akhmadiliev fight, how Roman will look. Because Akhmadiliev is a good guy, a good fighter as well, even though he's largely untested.
Then you have Stephen Fulton right in that weight class too. So,
Stephen Fulton's a guy, though, that he's going to have to be a guy that outboxes you. He's not going to be a guy that can overpower you. He's not going to be a guy that can knock you out. Any of these top guys.
No, he's not going to knock out, but it's going to be like if he fought Leo, it'd be the bull versus the matador type of fight. Like, I like those type of fights.
Oh, you're talking about him versus Leo. Oh,
yeah.
Love that fight. I would love that fight. Stephen Fulton's fighting on the Danny Garcia card, I believe.
Card, yeah. I don't know who he's fighting.
I forget. It's not a bad opponent, but I forget who it is. Excuse me. Let's get to callers, unless you have anything else to say.
Oh, and in the Darwin Price versus Hawkins fight, that was unfortunate because that was just starting to get going. That was going to be a good fight. And then Price, I guess, was it a knee injury or was it a calf injury? I don't know what it was.
They're listing it as a knee injury.
A knee injury.
Yep.
And that was just getting going. Who were you leaning towards? I thought Price was doing a little bit better work. That's a shame. And Price is 30. I just hope he gets another shot because I've met him. He's from Houston. Really, really good guy. I just hope that he gets another chance at a big fight because that was a terrible way to.
It was. I will say this. I think Price. It's hard because of the knee injury because I was watching and saying like, man, he looks off balance. Like something looks off in his performance from a very early point too. I was saying that like something just doesn't look right to him. Obviously, the knee injury I think was an issue. So it's hard. It's hard to really draw a conclusion from this matchup. I like Hawkins, though. I like Price. So I do want to see them fight relatively ASAP. And whether it's against each other again or other fights, I don't care. I think both guys have some potential here to be a relevant top 15 player. So, but I will say this. I thought Hawkins did look a little bit better. If I have to, like, gun to my head, if I have to say, like, who I was leaning towards at the time of the stoppage, Hawkins. Hawkins was, I thought, doing a little bit better work throughout. Also, by the way, Ahmed Abali defeating Brian Vera via TKO. Kareem Martin picked up a win. And that's about it from guys that I know. Let's go out to callers. Santiago in the LA area. We also had another caller on the line that dropped off. So, caller, if you're still listening, call back in. 323-870-4051. Press 1 to get in the queue. Santiago in LA. Santiago, what's up?
Good card. Wacky main event, to say the least, with everything that happened. First we get that maybe something happened with the shoe, then it's the Achilles apparently, and then Davis more or less showing us, I guess, the fruits of his labor, if you want to call it that.
Shade. So much shade.
I honestly feel that because of the injury, we were robbed of what could have been a much better and probably cleaner fight at this point with Gamboa, but it is what it is. I'm with you on this one, that I think because he did get the knockout late in the fight, you're just gonna get a lot of guys being happy that like, oh shit, look, his power carries. He can knock motherfuckers out at any point in a fight, and it's kind of like, you know, you have to wonder like what's up at this point with Davis, because like I don't know about you guys, but when I heard him in between rounds tell his cornerman that something's wrong with his body, that to me is a bad sign when you have to tell your corner something like that. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know what he might have been feeling, what he might have been thinking, or whatnot.
The exact quote that Davis said was, "Why does my body feel like this after round 9?" Also, like you said, Gamboa said post fight that he thinks his Achilles tendon was torn. Hope that's not the case. Sounds painful.
That'll be the end of his career at 38 if it is.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, if it is the case. If it is the case, he fucking fought on a torn Achilles? Damn. I doubt it, though. It's Gamboa, let's be honest. Back to you, Santi.
Hey, yeah, someone who more or less pulled off something similar to Gamboa. Shout out to you, bud. Kudos to him on his performance. If this ends up being the end of it for him, he gave a good account of himself. Davis, at this point, I can't really speak highly on him just because, like, moving up at 135 and missing weight and everything, it's just not a good look. You know, it's become a talking point for pretty much anybody at this point. Yeah, and when you're trying to make yourself the next guy, this isn't how you do it, because it leads to questions instead of statements at that point. So I ain't got much to speak on that one at that point. As for the Pascal Jack fight, wow, he put it good when he said that this fight reminded him of Sendo versus Borg. That was a great fight, great scrap between two guys. Already, well past their primes, but still competing at the highest levels. I still remember Pascal when he beat that Chad Dawson. Hey, most of us remember Jack from when he was still a freaking 168. So these guys have been around for a while, and I wouldn't mind seeing part 2. I actually had Jack winning by 2 points, but I do feel that he came on too late, and honestly, given his track record, I'm surprised it just wasn't another draw.
My gut reaction at the end of 12 was this is going to be a 3-way draw, because it was like there were so many rounds, and I didn't score it. But there were so many rounds that looked like they could have gone either way. I thought this is going to be a draw. It felt like a draw. It was a good fight, though. Where do you think Pascal goes next, and would you want to see him fight again?
Yeah, I would definitely want to see him fight again. I'm with you, Gary, that at this point, I don't think he's at a point where he takes on guys like Bosdick or Beterbiev. I think he's the guy that basically is just there to, like, keep the newer fighters in check. If you beat him, then we know that you're someone to take into consideration as a contender or someone trying to make their case to be a contender. I think that's his place now in this boxing landscape. He's the guy who's going to check you. He's the bouncer of the division for the elite fighters.
Very quickly, homie Lazy Lefty on Twitter with the meme of the R. Kelly interview. When he was like, listen to me, right? With red laser eyes, saying Tank looked bad on purpose to give you all hope Santa Cruz would beat him in order to sell the pay-per-view.
He ain't going back down to 130. I can promise you that.
I so love the idea that this was like a Triple G-esque move, where like he wanted to look bad, so he can get the big fights and sell them better. I love it. So great. By the way, we're getting Leo Santa Cruz next at pay-per-view. I know we were talking about other lightweights he's going to fight. He's not fighting a lightweight. He's fighting Leo Santa Cruz on pay-per-view.
At what weight?
Doesn't matter.
Okay, but you say 135 because there's no way he's going back down to 130.
No. I'm not saying 130. But doesn't matter. Leo's going to try to make that fight because it represents money for him in his mind.
Yeah, let's be frank, Gary. He's probably still going to miss weight regardless.
He's probably at 47. He'd come in at 149 and a half, right? Like, it doesn't matter. Why does
if Omar Figueroa could weigh in against Antonio DeMarco at 151 when their fight was scheduled for 147, yeah, I wouldn't put it past Davis at this point.
Wasn't that fight scheduled at, was it the Burns fight? One of them was scheduled to be at 140, and then they changed it to 47. He came in overweight, right? Like, this is but you see, like, it's always undisciplined fighters that Omar Figueroa, like it's a problem. Javier Fortuna, like, it's the same guys who always miss weight, and they're typically undisciplined outside the ring. Like,
what? No way, Gary.
But that's why you just need to keep Tank busy. Don't let him balloon up in between fights. Don't give him 6, 7, 8 months. Get him back in the ring 3 months. Don't let, you know what I'm saying? Keep him in camp. Keep him in shape.
Yeah, I could see that. He could be that kind of fighter that if you don't keep him busy, he probably just like lets himself go because he has no real incentive to like be that 24-hour athlete. Like with Gary Russell, he may only fight once a year, but he seems to be the constant like gym rat at the very least. So there does seem to be more of like how to handle him, like in terms of like getting him more fights or something like that, because it definitely seems that like when he does get a fight, and this is already becoming a recurring theme with him, he's not making the weight, and his performances are really starting to show at this point, like with him being tired, you know, and, you know, stating things like that, you know, for the camera to literally pick up on. I don't know. I mean, Matt, what do you think?
I'm sorry, I was answering a question in the chat. Can you repeat that question?
Like, do you think a guy like Tank Davis probably needs to stay busy in order to actually stay in shape? Because, like, we see, like, with guys like Gary Russell that may only fight once a year, but, like, we can see he's, like, at the very least a type of gym rat, whereas Davis seems to only take this seriously once a fight's lined up.
Does he need to stay busy a la fight often to stay in shape and stay out of trouble? I don't know. I mean, maybe. I mean, here's the thing. We're talking about an aspect of athletics that is completely up to the individual. Like, Davis could fight once a year, like you said, and be in shape 24/7, could be in the gym 5 days out of the week, 6 days out of the week, twice a day, all this stuff constantly. Not be in trouble, not go to the clubs all the time. He could do that and fight once a year. Like, that's up to his discretion. So, like, I don't know if it's a necessity for him to be active, for him to be out of trouble and to be disciplined and to have a real 12-round cardio tank. I don't know. I think it's just a personality thing. I think it's just like it's something in his head where he's not dedicated to the shit, to be honest. I think that's more than likely the issue. Because like we said, like, or like you said, I've said, like, we know other fighters that fight infrequent that we don't have this issue. So it's a you problem, Gervonta. It's not your trainer's problem, in my opinion. It's not your sparring partner's problem, in my opinion. It's not your baby mama's problem. It's not anyone's problem. It's yours. If you are in the 9th round saying, why does my body feel like this? It's you. You're the one that came in out of shape. You're the one that missed weight. It has to be you. Because guess what? Time and time again, you're the one missing weight. You're the one that's ballooning up. We're not the one feeding you. We're not the one that's making you go out to the clubs and drink Henny all night. That's not us. That's you. So, like, I get the argument that that Gary brought up, and I think you're saying here as well, that like some guys, like, they just need to be in the gym constantly. They need to be forced in the gym to stay out of trouble. I get that. But that's still a him issue. And that still should be corrected before he ever fights the top guys. Because guess what? The very top guys, they don't have that issue. They're sociopaths when it comes to training. You know, like Gary often brings up Kobe Bryant. I always love that metaphor. Like, that is our Tiger Woods. Like, these sort of like sociopathic athletes that take it to just a different degree. That's what it takes to be the next Floyd Mayweather, because Mayweather had that.
Mayweather was, perfect example of that, right?
Mayweather had that. Davis doesn't have it at this point in time, and he needs to get it very quickly. And even if he fights 5-6 times a year, if that is not corrected, that mentality, then I think long-term, at the very top, the one thing that will stop him beating the Lomachenkos of the world.
No, I largely agree with that, right? Because Lomachenko is one of those guys who is hyper
sociopathic.
Yeah. I think there's a path to victory for Tank Davis to beat a lot of these guys. But is he disciplined enough to do that? I don't know. Like, it was like Vince Carter came to the NBA with more talent than anyone, right? More talent than Kobe Bryant, but who was a better basketball player, right? It's a stupid question to ask, because one guy was hyper focused, one guy was sociopathic about it, and one guy just said, "Hey, I'm pretty good. I like the money. I'm just gonna be pretty good for a long time, and that's it."
Ricky Williams or LaDainian Tomlinson,
right?
You have an athlete that is clearly more talented than Ricky Williams. Clearly, I mean, if he just played every season and was dedicated to football, he'd probably be the best running back of all time. He probably would be.
But there was that one year where he was on the Dolphins where they had him rush the ball like 500 times. And I think that kind of warned him. I was like, I'm not doing this every year.
No,
all right, that was ridiculous. I'm taking a few years off to go smoke weed in China, whatever he was doing.
And then you have a guy like LT who didn't have that talent, but was a workhorse. Frank Gore. Workhorse.
Frank Gore.
Workhorse. He ran every fucking play like it was his last. He worked every practice like it was his last. Ricky Williams didn't, but he had way more talent than those guys. Like, it depends. What do you want? Santi?
Yeah, definitely. So I guess that's that. We had a pretty good night of fights. Pretty good performance out of Angelo Leo. Definitely curious to see that guy moving forward. Seeing where it takes him. I was actually listening to that fight while I was out driving today, and it was nice to see that what I was listening to parlayed into what I rewatched as I waited for the intermissions to end. So that's pretty much all I got to say at this point. If you guys have any questions regarding any of the other fighters or topics, feel free to shoot. Otherwise, thanks. That's my call. Everybody that's listening in, hit that like button, share, subscribe. These guys are giving us a show right after the fight so we can talk, shoot the shit, and give our two takes and shit on people that may not be taking this shit as seriously as these two are.
Real quick, Santiago, Tank Davis, who do you think he fights next, and who would you want to see him fight next? Assuming he can't fight Teofimo and Lomachenko because they're busy with each other.
My plan would be at this point, if he wants an easy belt, get David Henney for unification. That way, whoever else he makes next, they're just going to have a field day getting two belts off of Davis at this point. Otherwise, I'm with Matt. I think they make the Leo fight. It makes sense money-wise. Davis is probably not going to make weight. Leo will probably take the fight at whatever weight just because he knows that Davis probably won't even take it seriously, thinking he's the bigger guy.
Agreed. Thank you for the call, Santi, as always. And plus, I mean, one saving grace to that Leo Santa Cruz fight is that, like, to your statement, Gary, I do want to see what Davis does on the back foot. Leo might get him going backwards. I don't know, because Leo has turned into quite the boxer. But I am curious. Like, if there's one guy to sort of be in his chest throwing volume, and think about it, Davis throwing 15, 20 punches around is the antithesis to Leo Santa Cruz throwing 70 to 100 punches around on average. I'm curious to see that dynamic. I wish it was Miguel Berchelt instead, but hey, it is what it is. We can't get everything in life.
Tank's gonna fight Ray Beltran next, and they're both gonna miss weight.
Why would he do that, Gary? Why? Guys, that's been it for our post-fight show for Gervonta Davis. versus Yuriorkis Gamboa. Hope you guys enjoyed it. And I think this might be, not officially, but this might be the last show of 2019. So if it is, thank you for listening all of 2019. Thank you for supporting. If it's not, be back in like, not probably tomorrow. I'm busy tomorrow, but maybe Monday, which is still 2019. So we should be back. We should have another show before the end of the year. Plus, I do want to get to a show where me and Gary can just discuss on an open platform instead of my scripted videos of the rankings, because me and Gary do have some diverging rankings here, and it does make for an interesting calculation at times. A lot of tying as well. Like the heavyweight division, we tied in the top 2 spots, so everyone angry in the comment section for that post. They're tied. Don't be mad at us. They're tied. But go check that out and debate it in that community tab on YouTube. I am Matt the Hipster Hunter. Find me, Matt Hunter, MCR, on all social media platforms. Gary?
Find me on all forms of social media at 3D Boxing. It was a surprisingly good day of boxing. I wasn't expecting much, and we got a bunch of good fights. The Leo fight was good. The Pascal fight was a keeper, and then there was good action in the Tank Davis fight. So it was surprisingly, good day of boxing. Hopefully we'll be back. Hopefully Monday.
Monday for sure.
So from Texas to the world, thank you. God bless.
Peace, guys.